I spent last weekend doing something kind of stupid. I ran the same 14 prompts through ChatGPT Free, ChatGPT Pro, and a janky stack of open weight models I rented on Replicate for about $11. The Pro answers were better, but not $200 better. And that gap, the actual measurable one, is becoming the most uncomfortable thing in AI right now. Okay, the pricing first, because almost nobody states it plainly. ChatGPT is 0, 20, or 200 a month. Claude is 0, 20, or 200 for Max. Gemini is 0, 20, or 250 for Ultra. Three companies basically the same ladder. And that ladder is the thing I want to pull apart because the rungs are not evenly spaced. Here's the thing none of these companies will publish in one clean table. There is no official document that says, Free tier gets Model X with this context window and these rate limits. Pro tier gets Model Y with these. You have to piece it together from third-party teardowns and people timing themselves out on Reddit at 2 a.m. Which, I've done. A lot. What the teardowns actually show is this. Free ChatGPT gives you roughly 10 messages every 5 hours before it silently swaps you to a smaller mini model. 5 deep research runs a month. 2 code interpreter sessions a day. Plus, the $20 tier bumps you to something like 40 to 50 messages every 3 hours and a 32K context. Pro, the $200 one, gets unlimited on the flagship, 128K context, and around 120 to 250 deep research runs, depending on who you ask. So that's the access gap. But access doesn't tell you about reasoning. 2 numbers, 6%. 2. That is a 36-point gap. Not 3, not 10. 36. Now, I want to be fair here. On easier benchmarks, the gap shrinks fast. GPQA Diamond, no tools, base is 88, Pro is 93. 5 points. 7. Pro 50. About 7. So the answer to, is the paywalled model smarter, depends entirely on what you're asking it to do. On the easy stuff, marginal. On the genuinely hard reasoning, it's a different machine. And then there's the productivity research, which complicates everything. The BCG and Harvard study, 758 consultants using GPT-4. Inside the AI's competence zone, performance jumped 40% on quality. Below average consultants improved 43%. Top performers, only 17. So AI compresses the skill gap among users. It does not stratify it. The Brynjolfsson call center study found the same thing. Bottom quintile, plus 34% productivity. High-skill workers, basically nothing. So if you only look at that research, the cognition paywall story falls apart. AI lifts the bottom. But, and this is the part that bugs me, those studies were on free or $20 tier tools. Nobody has run the consultant experiment on people who actually have pro mode reasoning. We don't know what the curve looks like when one group has 120 deep research runs a month and the other has 5. Which brings me to the escape route. Open weights. I have been obsessing over this. 5 on GPQA, 6 territory. 2 leads on SWE Bench Pro. These aren't toys. 3. The frontier gap is real, but it's not a chasm. The economics are the real story, though. $200 on Claude Opus at on-demand rates buys you about 27 million tokens. 6 through a hosted endpoint buys 155 million. On Gemini 3 Flash, 256 million. AI stack on raw volume. And capability-wise, you're maybe 3 to 5 points behind on benchmarks. But here's the catch I kept hitting. The benchmarks measure the model. The Pro tier sells the workflow. Operator, the autonomous web agent, only exists on Pro. Codex agent, Pro mode reasoning across hundreds of files, unlimited image uploads, the 500 Sora videos at 1080p a month. None of that ports cleanly to a replicate stack. You can chain models on FAL, sure. I do it for my product ad workflow. The Flux plus Hunyuan plus MM audio chain, I'm trying to get under 12 cents. but it takes hours to wire and it breaks. There's an economic tell that nobody talks about enough. OpenAI's Pro plan reportedly loses around $14,000 per active user per year on compute. Altman has basically said it isn't profitable, which means the $200 tier is being subsidized to deliver workflows the free tier structurally cannot run. That subsidy will not last forever. Either the price goes up, the unlimited gets quietly metered, or the free tier gets nerfed further to widen the moat. And historically, this pattern repeats. Bloomberg Terminal, 24 grand a year since 1982, still 325,000 subscribers, never went mass market. LexisNexis stayed expensive, but Google Scholar made the primary materials free. Broadband in 2000, 3% of households. By 2021, 77%, though the rich-poor gap stayed. Sci-Hub broke academic publishing's paywall faster than publishers expected. The pattern is always severe short-term divide, 10 to 20 years of compression, persistent narrow elite tier at the very top. So where does that leave the cognition paywall thesis? Honestly, half right. There is a measurable capability gap between free and pro on hard reasoning tasks. That gap is 30+ points on some benchmarks. But the productivity research suggests AI access compresses skill gaps among users far more than it stratifies them. And open weights on replicate or fall close most of the capability gap for a fraction of the cost, if you're willing to wire it yourself. What I actually think, after a weekend of this, is that the real